It always takes a couple of seconds to be up. There it is. All right. Yeah, link is up. We can start the daily. Martin, do you want to go first?
Sure. So yesterday I was catching up. There were lots of PRs and things, and I also had some interviews with potential fellows or people for the bootcamp. So we had some discussions today, and one of the things we are seeing is there's a lack of issues for contributors and potentially for the bootcamp contributors. So I'm planning to spend maybe the last few days, next days, or at least the next day, and creating issues probably related to the state transition function and spec tests, so that we can unblock external contributors. That's it for me.
That's perfect. That will be very useful. Paul, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So today I've been mostly working on finalizing the PRs I've been working on during the last days. So I did some cleanup and tried to improve the architecture as we discussed with Martin yesterday. So I deleted the functions that I created in the test files, and I moved them directly to the core of the state transition inside the lib. And then I'm starting to work on the patch, to enable the modification of the functions into the inside the tests. And then I was able to make like 2-3 PRs that I wanted to make. So I think 2 are ready for review. 1 should be soon, and then I should have like 1 or 2 more PRs ready by the end of day. So concerning the test runner, the updates on the docs, and open API specs, it was like PRs that I had already like opened and that I need to close because we were not able to finalize the whole process. So yeah, and then when I finish this, we can discuss what are the next steps, or potentially I'll go onto continuing the checkpoint sync to finalize the milestone, potentially with Thomas. So yeah, I'm still working on that, and I'll let you know if I need help or have any more information.
Perfect. I'm glad to hear that's coming to a nice end and that you're finished with the operations runner, with the spec test runner. That's perfect. Thomas, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Well, today I was working on. I went through all the PRs and that Thomas reviewed. The other Thomas Arhovsky reviewed and addressed all the comments he made. I'm also going through the issues we have open to check if any of those are stale and should be closed, or and marking the ones that we should like leave for a future far away, or we should start working on now. Now I'm gonna continue with both of those, and after that, well, I think I still have my hands full with those, but I was gonna continue with the improving the block requesting. And well, Paul Henry, if you need anything about the checkpoint sync, then we also have to integrate that with block requesting. And well, that's all.
Okay, perfect. So that's probably for Paul after he finishes all of what he's doing, right? Like if he needs some next steps, then he can tackle some of those. Is that right?
Yeah, so I opened the PR, the one you sent me a message about yesterday, Thomas, Arosky. We discussed this PR. It was the implementation of the checkpoint sync, but it was only the first step in the sense that we were able to use CLI to be able to pass a checkpoint URL, then validate this URL, then make a query to another node, then request beacon state, and then decompress and deserialize this beacon state, and then I basically kept it, like just returned it. I believe that Thomas Gruner potentially worked and went further on that, because once we get the beacon state, we need to settle this beacon state, but after we need to get like the new information related to this state, so all the new blocks and stuff. So I think that's what you're talking about, Thomas.
Yeah. Before I worked on two different PRs. One I added in the database the logic to store those beacon states, and the second one I also added logic about requesting other peers for blocks by their slot. So like slot number 720,000 on that. The beacon state also states the current the slot for that state. We can use that to request the block of that state to get it from peers, and also the next blocks. That's the thing we should integrate your PR with.
Yeah.
Well, for now, only the storing part. We can work on later PRs on the integrating it to the peer block requesting from peers.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. Let's work on that next. So firstly, storing the beacon state, and then like being able to request more data. Let's do that next. I think I should be able to, or do that by the end, like be free for that by the end of the day or tomorrow. I think potentially tomorrow is more how to say sure. Like I'm sure that tomorrow I will be able. Just I need to finalize a few PRs before. Yeah,
That's
all.
perfect. That works. Okay, thank you both. As for me, I've been mostly doing some issue cleanup. I've been just adding some labels because we have plenty of issues that are either too broad or old or just refactor ideas. So we need to do some cleanup of that. And also, I've been doing some interviews for the bootcamp, but my focus the next following days will be both interviews for the bootcamp, reviewing the existing issues and making sure that they are up to date and clear enough. But I also will be doing some documentation so that newcomers can have something, like some guide on what to read, because we already have like a good list of resources, but we probably want to have especially for the specs. I'm worried about the consensus specs being too dense for newcomers, and just having an idea of, hey, you probably should start reading this part first and this part afterwards, etc. Like more like a reading list than anything else. But I think that should be useful. Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, so I was thinking about that during the last few days, and actually I wanted to discuss with you guys to see what you were thinking about. Um, one thing that I really liked was making the research and understanding like how it worked, and I think I would really like also potentially trying to do, for example, we could do for the bootcamp, like weekly classes or something like that. So I wouldn't mind like trying to, during the weekends or things like that, trying to prepare like classes for newcomers where we can try to get them up to speed. Because definitely, like if we give them like, okay, like you have this reading list, and even the E2 book, like it takes like a few weeks to read and to fully understand. So I think that if we explain them and we give them like shortcuts, and we can do like, for example, I could do a 1 hour call with them to explain, okay, so this is like the architecture, this is the things we understood, this is the things that are interesting to read, etc. A little bit like a class. I think it would be interesting for the bootcamp newcomers to get like up to speed a lot faster. Like if we explain to them, it's gonna be a lot better than if they just go in and like read everything without having like the context. I say that because, for example, Thomas and Martin, you helped me a lot like understanding things, because I read, but also you explained to me some things when I had questions I could ask. And I think it's better this way than just like having some things to read and just going through. So yeah, I volunteer to try to give like bootcamp classes to newcomers or things like that to help them get up to speed.
Yeah, that's awesome, Paul. Let's talk about it afterwards. We still haven't figured out what the format of the meetings will be. We will probably have daily meetings and also weekly ones. So it's very similar to what you're thinking about, but we can sync afterwards on that. I think that your contribution to that will be very valuable. But yeah, thanks for offering, and definitely we'll take that into account. We need some kind of study group structure. So those like summaries or classes that you're planning will probably be very useful for that. But yeah, we need to do some planning on that, and then we can sync to see how we can what's the name for this? Yeah, we can make the best use of each one of us resources. But yeah, that's perfect. Thanks for the offering. Yeah, anything else? Any final comments or questions? All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you all for joining. And yeah, see you